What's good, my dudes? Okay, so today we're getting into some experimentation, Saturday experimentation. Uh, by the time you see this is actually being recorded after I'm done. So I've already had the day of experimenting in the studio, and it went really well. You remember the last Saturday I had a meltdown because of some painting that just ended up shitty. Well, we re-tackled it, another iteration. I worked with on a wood panel this time that I got from Jerry's. Shouts to Jerry's Artorama, and it went a lot better. The second iteration definitely went a lot better. There are improvements to be made for sure, but I think I'm getting closer to the truth of what I'm trying to get to with these pieces. So, without further ado, let's get into the time lapse. And I'll have, a few things to say, not a whole lot, but. Oh, and the other thing was too is that I didn't record the whole process because since so much of it was kind of like scrambled, it was really a hard time for me to like move the camera around, because part of it was in the spray booth and then towards the painting wall and then outside a little bit. So I got good little bits and pieces here and there, but it's by no means like an exhaustive view of the whole process like it usually is. So this time you'll forgive me for, kind of skipping over a few parts, but I'll try to describe what happened in the moment. And then, yeah, cool, so let's get into it. All right, today we're working in the spray booth. Man, this experiment, I can't really talk through it like I know what I'm doing, right? So I'm just layering color. The idea though was to build up a portrait, and kind of develop a language of portraiture, I think, that's just kind of based on these sort of chaotic marks. And I want to use masking tape to delineate different parts of the form, so I started with the outermost silhouette of the portrait that I was working on. And then what I didn't record was the masking tape part. So what I'm doing is layering up, and I'm trying to use the values to somewhat work with like the contours of the form, so there I'm using some drop shadows under the chin and stuff, and then I'm just kind of layering up a little bit more chaotically, but still trying to delineate some of the volume and describe some of those, like, features, I guess you could say. And then here each layer has to get remasked, so I have to use the projector every time, and for some of it I was working sort of like freehand with the projector and then masking different parts off. But yeah, ultimately this was just about trying something different and new, but also trying to build this kind of language up with these portraits. And here I am peeling the tape from it, and actually what I thought was going to be the last stage really ended up just being kind of like the starting point for me. So initially when I peeled this tape, I thought that the end result here was going to be the final thing that I was sticking with, but it just sort of ended up being the base for the rest of it. And so peeling the tape was it was pretty satisfying as far as tape peels go and stuff, just kind of getting to see what the work looked like that I had done for the day, because I got in early-ish, and then I ended up leaving in the evening, so I was like, pretty much all day on this piece, and it was like a process of like painting it for a little while, and then leaving it to like sort of bake in the sun, and then coming back and then remasking it, projecting it, and then putting masking tape, and then repeating the process. And so it was kind of a lengthy one, and so it was definitely nice to see all of that kind of work paid off and stuff. And one of the things that I did notice about this particular stage that I did like was just the way that the different layers kind of read, and the way you can really kind of see those forms, especially if I treat each of the sections as its own kind of unique little world and start with white as opposed to just trying to build color on top of what was previously there. I found that starting with white was sort of going to be the key moving forward, especially if I want to isolate each layer and make it seem like its own little island. But what I ended up noticing is that there was still a lot of work that I wanted to do, let's say, you know, for instance, around the nose, because right now you just kind of have this Voldemort kind of snake nose thing going on. And I felt like, you know, I really want to see the nostrils, and I want to see how the form of the nose takes shape and stuff like that. So when I got done here, I ended up doing quite a bit more work of just building up color, and then not using any tape, but just you know, just trying to like delineate forms and then push and pull, especially because I'm, you know, as I start working freehand with the airbrush, I'm going to start to lose a lot of those, you know, crisp edges. So I wanted to play with that and see, you know, how much I can push and see what was too much. And I think I might have overshot it in some areas, but then in other areas, I think that it was really successful. And what I'm going to show you guys next is a side-by-side of the first iteration and the second, which is this one. So you guys can see just kind of the little bit of history and how we're trying to consciously improve, you know. And then here is the final piece. And yeah, like this was just hopefully a good example of how we're starting to build a language. Right, so the next session I'll either start something new or build right on top of this guy and kind of just see, maybe I need to add something, maybe I need to go back in and remask something, or maybe I need to, you know, otherwise make some sort of improvement. So next time that I am back on this exercise, I will do that. And that's all I got for you guys today, so thank you for watching.